G'day ladies and gentlemen, the Buttsman here, hope you're doing real well. At this point in time, the UFC commentator, comedian and podcaster Joe Rogan is one of the most influential men on this planet today. Humble beginnings in the comedy scene and then moving on to TV like news radio, all the way through to Fear Factor, and now as a comedian traveling the road for many, many moons, and now he is at the top of the podcast game. When I say the top, I mean the top. His podcast on a monthly basis hits well over 200 million downloads. That is a fuck ton of people. That is absolutely ridiculous. Network TV stations in this country particularly would kill for those numbers. They can't even imagine those numbers. That's 10 times Australia's population. It is ridiculous. All that is not too bad for a dude with no hair who loves telling dick jokes and commentating cage fucking fighting. Not bad, Joe. Well done. In fact, Joe is so influential that he is the reason that this YouTube channel exists. For me, listening to his podcast since I was in year 12 at high school, what fucking year is it? 2020. 8 years ago. Oh, geez, I'm getting old, ladies and gentlemen. This hair is going back. For me, listening to that podcast back in the day, I understood what I had to do to become a comedian. Listen to people like Joe Rogan, Joey Diaz, Ari Shafir, these type of people on his podcast gave me the courage to go to an open mic night. That started my career. That allowed me to do this. In fact, listening to his podcast gave me the courage to start my own, now the biggest in the country. It also gave me the courage to go to an MMA gym. Now I go every single day when I'm not on the road drinking too many beers. But also to start jiu-jitsu, a sport I now love. I used to love rugby league. I played it for 17 years, my entire life. And now I don't even think about that sport. My balls are well and deeply into the MMA world. I started a keto diet because of Joe Rogan, lost 34 kilos. I'm the healthiest I've ever been. But, once again, the road you know what I'm saying. Butt's got a bit fat last year, but he's working on it, ladies and gentlemen. Lifting heavy, lifting steel. It's safe to say that I've got a little bit of a stiffy over young Joe Rogan. But so do a lot of other people, including the candidate for the United States of America, Bernie Sanders. Now, Joe has had a lot of big influential guests on his podcast, people from Mel Gibson, Robert Downey Jr., to people like Bernie Sanders, Tulsi Gabbard, all these amazing people. And he had Bernie on, I think it must have been 3 or 4 months ago, and they had a great podcast. It was enjoyable to listen to, and Bernie seemed like a nice guy. Joe Rogan then said some very kind things about Bernie. And you know what Bernie did last week? He compiled and edited a video of Joe talking very nice words about him and put it out as a tweet. This comedian talking about Bernie Sanders, he used it as a part of his candidacy for the United States presidency. That is insane. That's how big Joe is. And holy shit, did the shit hit the fan. Fuck me dead.
Who are you going to vote for in the primary?
I think I'll probably vote for Bernie. Him as a human being, when I was hanging out with him, and
yeah.
I believe in him. I like him a lot. What Bernie stands for is a guy who, well, look, you could dig up dirt on every single human being that's ever existed if you catch them in their worst moment, and you magnify those moments, and you cut out everything else, and you only display those worst moments. That said, you can't find very many with Bernie. He's been insanely consistent his entire life. He's basically been saying the same thing, been for the same thing his whole life. And that, in and of itself, is a very powerful structure to operate from.
Every single weak piece of woke shit in the world exploded into Twitter. They must have seen this and go, oh my God, I can't even deal, because some of the tweets that came out were not only just rude and horrible about Joe, but also extremely defamatory and without merit. The thing is, people who probably have never seen Joe's podcast, probably have never understood the type of person that he is, the person that we know and we love, they just went out on this weird tangent because people were copying videos, or they were copying tweets from back in the day that Joe had put up as jokes, or he's talking about jokes on his show, or he's talking mad shit. Maybe he's smoking some hooch. Maybe he's drinking some whiskey. Whatever he's doing, he's saying these things and he's joking. He's talking shit with his mates, and people take that as absolute fact. And this is what people need to remember. Joe is a comedian. He's not a political commentator. He talks about politics, but he's not a political commentator. He's not a doctor. He's none of these type of things. He's a comedian trying to make people laugh. That is the bread and butter of what he does. Now, for people to come out and say that Joe is a horrible let me get into what he said. Because in the comment section in Bernie's post, it went fucking bananas. This dude was the first one to really jump on board. The name is Bottoms for Elizabeth Warren. I mean, come on. Bad choice of words. I mean, what the fuck, all right? A bottom is the gay dude who's on the bottom of the sexual relationship. Like, if you're into that, wonderful. But why are you naming your Twitter after it? That's just fucking weird. Anyway, he went through Joe's old tweets and wrote, if you're a man and you call yourself a feminist, I hope you choke to death on vegan pizza while crying over a Lady Gaga song. How the fuck is that not funny? Alright, if you don't laugh at that, you are a piece of shit. You suck. I never want to see you in my life. What a horrible life you must lead to not at least giggle at something like that. It's obviously a joke. Joe's being a silly Billy. Alright, he put that tweet out in 2013 and Bottoms for Warren put it out as like, look at this guy. He thinks people should die. Fucking pull your head in. These people live off wanting to cancel other people's careers. That's the only thing they do. Twitter, if you've never been on it, you should follow me at the Buttsman on Twitter. I'm pretty, I get pretty busy on there. But the only reason I have it is because I go on there, I watch people fight and I come up with video ideas. That's the only reason, because it's such a laughable place. One lady said that she would return to the comment section until Bernie had taken that post down. She was going to set an alarm and return every hour. Imagine that being your life. That you are so invested in this just because someone's told you that Joe's a horrible person that you freaked the fuck out. Because that's what people were doing. People were saying things like Joe Rogan is a racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic human being. I've heard these things. People have said these things about me, and I know what it's like when the media cracks the shits at you. And they start printing these newspaper headlines, and you're just thinking, they're going, that's not me. What the fuck? Sally Doyle, or Doyle Rules, came out and said Joe Rogan has also had friendly interviews with Milo Yiannopoulos, Jordan Peterson, and yelled, you're a fucking man, on air about a trans woman. Vocally argued against trans kids having puberty blockers this year and says the word fag. Also believes that the world is stacked against men. So enjoy. Now, number one, Milo Yiannopoulos' interview on Joe Rogan was what actually started the downfall of his career. Jordan Peterson is a great fucking human being. There is his, why wouldn't I just look? There's his book right there. Go and check it out. Marvelous work. He was saying you're a man to a trans woman who was fighting against natural born women in MMA. Men are bigger, stronger, faster, quicker, all that shit than women, and it is dangerous for them to compete against people who are born as a man. That is just science, that is fact, that is biology. If you disagree with that, you're an absolute dumb fuck. Sorry, Joe's right again. He argued about kids having puberty blockers. You are not old enough to decide what you do with your body yet. You're just not. To decide that you're going to get rid of puberty and stop puberty? Come on. Think with your fucking head here. It's important to understand that these are young kids and they are confused. It's okay to be confused. If you really feel that you're a man born in a woman's body or vice versa, and you want to do that, cool. As I've said a million times before on this channel, if you're happy, wonderful. But don't impede other people. Don't tell other people what they can and cannot say. That is just ridiculous. As for saying the world is stacked against men, he said exactly the opposite. He said men have everything in this world. And for saying the gay F word, God, just get a harder fucking skin. Carlos Meza. Yes, at Gay Wonk. The dude who tried to bring down Steven Crowder. The absolute goose. This guy, he is absolutely ridiculous. If you say something mean about him, he will whinge, bitch and moan until everyone comes and saves him. He's an absolute child. What an absolute weak-minded turd. Now I'm going to have a look what he said. He blocked me. Nice one, Carlos, you fucking pussy. Bernie's campaign. Luckily I screenshotted it. Bernie's campaign. Cutting an ad with Rogan. Fucking sucks. Oh, boo-hoo, little bubba boy. Rogan is an incredible, influential bigot. Nice one, dickface, you fucking idiot. The weakness in these people. Steve Morris said, really truly begging Bernie fans and staffers to not whitewash this. Rogan, among other things, is a horribly transphobic asshole. What a crazy thing to say. But this garbage reached a peak, and that was with the biggest news provider in the world, CNN. Remember, this is what people get their news from, okay? This isn't just some fucking... This isn't Vox, this isn't some little organisation like BuzzFeed, this is CNN. They said this, Bernie Sanders facing backlash from some Democrats after his campaign trumpeted an endorsement from comedian Joe Rogan and popular podcast and YouTube talk show host with a history of making racists, that's a big claim, CNN, I hope you can back that up, homophobic, oh wow, now Joe hates gays, fantastic, and transphobic comments. Once again, I've had this shit said about me. It's not nice to feel, because particularly when you can't go out there and defend yourself. Because apparently we can't make jokes about this shit. We can't make fun of certain people because they're too delicate. I know trans people, I know gay people, they are not that fucking delicate. Stop treating them like they got something wrong with them. Rogan, a libertarian-leaning broadcaster with a public persona in the mold of Howard Stern, is a divisive figure who has said the N-word on his show. God. He's a comedian. And in 2013 questioned using offensive language, whether a transgender MMA fighter should be able to compete against women. Once again, no, you fucking shouldn't. Joe said, if you want to be a woman in the bedroom and, want to play house and all that other shit, feel free. Like, you have a body, it's really yours, woman's body, etc., inside a man, but you can't fight chicks. He's 100% correct. How can you disagree with that? CNN should be fucking ashamed of themselves. That is absolutely gross from them. How these people can call themselves journalists and come out with that tripe is beyond me. I have several friends who are friends with Joe Rogan, close friends, and they all say the same thing. He's a beautiful person, loves his family, looks after his friends, and I think that's what we should take away from this. Joe has been an incredibly important influence on my life, and I'd like to thank him and everyone around him who has done that. It's been absolutely fantastic. I do love that man, I know. It's a bit of a man crush, but I'll bloody, go me. That's why I'm all sweaty. It's got nothing to do with this being 45 degrees today. This idea of cancel culture will never achieve anything. Every single time we hear someone say something we don't like, we try and cancel them, we try and shut them out. It's so childish. It's like we're at primary school. Just because little Tommy walks in and says something about fucking, I don't want to play T-ball this afternoon, and everyone goes, no, fuck you, Tommy, you're kicked out of the fucking class, you cockhead, we all want to play T-ball. It doesn't work like that. It's a terrible fucking analogy. It's such a bad analogy. Who the fuck plays T-ball? What I'm saying is, if you are a part of this cancel culture bullshit, you are a fucking weak little turd, and you should be ashamed of yourselves. Ladies and gentlemen, be a good motherfucker. Peace in the Middle East, me dick stinks, and I'll see you all very soon. Toodaloo, au revoir. I'm gonna go wipe my sweaty brow. Bye!